Salutations, lovebirds and hopeless romantics. Welcome to Podcast of Storm, where bleeding hearts, soulful poets, and all around sad sacks come to debate all and talk all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Hello, folks. Behold, my hat actually fits my head now because I got a haircut.
Mm-hmm. And I am your host / Time Lord wannabe, the Brainstormer Pop Culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
It's been a rough day, but for once it has nothing to do with Valentine's Day.
Yep. Yeah, so speaking of which, we have some stuff to talk about.
Oh boy, do we. I swear to God, the only thing that these people enjoy attempting to ruin more than holidays themselves is the very concept of, like, courting an attraction. So,
To be
yeah.
fair, to be fair, most of these people are, and I'm using the modern term, and I hate using it though because I hate using modern slang, but most of like the males of the people in question that try to destroy holidays and stuff like that, and courting and all, are male feminists / simps who, whatever the fuck they are, I don't really know.
Who fail so hard on every other metric that they try to make up for it on the moral philosophical metric.
Mm-hmm. And well, feminist, which
Yeah.
is self-explanatory.
Yeah, huh. And if you don't know why it's self-explanatory, stick around for a couple hours. You'll have ample evidence by the end for why that requires no more explanation than it already has.
I legitimately cannot wait until our final topic. That'll be fun.
Well, I mean, we could do it first if you want to.
No, I feel like we need it at last, honestly.
All right, fair play, and you're probably right. So let's sharpen up those Cupid's arrows and make with the heartache already.
Yeah, okay. Basically, this is all stuff Dawn had sent me, like a month ago.
Yeah, because I knew how much of a vendetta these people have against the very notion of humans trying to be in romantic relationships with one another, and so this was really easy to find articles for.
We also need to point out that most of these are pretty old, like within the last 4 or so years. So, I mean, they're still relevant.
Because there's that people still make these arguments. Like, we'll get into an article for 16 Candles later, and as you might have seen in the previous episode, when we were covering John McIntosh and his attempts to explain, quote, adorkable misogyny, unquote, he referenced 16 Candles too. So, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, quick note to be made. We will be finishing that video as soon like the first week of March.
Yeah,
which I believe
we will resume the full Macintosh as and when we resume normal programming in
yeah.
March.
Speaking of which, should we just watch the whole video again, or when we get there?
No, let's pick up from wherever we left off and
Okay,
finish it off like we do an article.
yeah, that makes sense. All right. Okay, so this is from Salon.com. The guys who won't hear no: movies, masculinity, and the toxic myth of the romantic stalker. Films like Love Actually and Say Anything don't cause violence, but they normalize dangerous behaviors. It's by Miko Lang. It's published February 8th, 2016.
Because it's not like flirting exists or unrequited love or
Socially awkward people who have a hard time actually expressing feelings towards other people.
It's
I mean,
not like playing hard to get is totally never, ever, ever a thing.
I've never had that with any girl I've ever tried to ask out.
I I can't speak for anything in that regard either, because most of the people that I would like to court don't swing that way, and would probably break every bone in my body if they knew that that was the thing I wanted. So yeah.
Moving on.
Yep.
God damn it. When I was young, I remember hearing a number of variations of the same story. You've probably heard a version of it too. It's the one about the guy who meets the love of his life, but she doesn't know it yet. The woman is initially uninterested, rebuffing his advances. He's just not her type. But he isn't so easily dissuaded. He shows up to her office every single day to ask her out until she finally says yes. No matter which version you hear, maybe he's in the Navy or she's already got a boyfriend, there's one constant. They always end up married at the end. Or they date. I get what the overall thing they're implying. Obviously, like they
Yeah, but
but
again, I have to sarcastically throw my hat into the ring here and ask, so convincing someone to be with you or trying to prove yourself worthy never happens according to the person who wrote this article? Because not every romance is instantaneous or love at first sight. Sometimes not only do you have to prove yourself worthy just on pragmatic terms, but in a lot of ways, a lot of people like to have their significant other try to prove themselves worthy. In fact, that's speaking for myself, and gay dude. So don't be coming at me with any of this. But you're a misogynist bullcrap.
they'll still try it, right?
They're still gonna try it, but just so that we make it difficult for them, and I have all my logical bases covered. I am not straight, very, very not straight, and yet one of my personal kinks, and I know for a fact that this applies to many people who are broadly speaking bottoms, we like the notion that someone special, someone who makes us feel all weak in the knees and shit, would like us enough to try and prove themselves worthy of our love, even though, in most cases, such people already have it by virtue of themselves being so awesome. There's still a degree of flattery and self-worth that comes from the idea that someone who by right should just be able to demand shit from me actually considers themselves in need of proving themselves worthy. That's immensely endearing, because that means that to them, you're the special one. And I can almost guarantee you that that applies a lot to women as well, which is why so many romantic comedies and romantic movies and so forth, basically the romantic fantasies that women pay up the ass and out the nose for, are about a man who at first is rough around the edges, proving himself worthy, and then making the female character that woman's self-insert. That's basically what romance novels and movies and shit are for, because the woman likes to imagine if he would do that for her, then maybe someone like that would do that for me, which is a perfectly reasonable um desire to have, and most of our psychological wiring regarding attraction is about the desire of other people. We want to be desired by someone we find desirable. Whether you want to take the more passive role or the more active role is, kind of a roll of the dice and entirely up to you, but everyone wants to see the desire that they have for a person reflected to them by that person on some level.
I also like to point out aren't romantic comedies kind of a dying or are a dead breed of movie? Like
they're definitely on their last leg, because I think people forgot how to write romance properly. And honestly, shit like this is most likely why. Because everyone wants to both have a feminist approved movie and a romantic movie. But the problem is feminism is so backwards in what it considers romantic that it doesn't appeal to the vast majority of the viewing public, either of male or female gender. So basically, they're trying to do romance in reverse and still call it romantic. You can't have misunderstandings. You can't have character development. You can't have characters proving themselves worthy, or finding that thing they have in common that brings them together. It all has to be perfect Mary Sue's being pursued by perfect Gary Stews, and even then, both characters have to either be overly confrontational or overly submissive at all times, or it doesn't work for some reason.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a relationship.
Yeah, romantic comedies and romantic movies done by people who have no concept of romance is the problem, or actively despise the concept of romance.
Uh-huh. Sorry, give me a minute. These stories, these stories of romantic pursuit have been so canonized in our collective psyche that in 2004 we even got an entire movie about them, The Notebook. In the film, Noah, Ryan Gosling, meets Allie, Rachel McAdams, an upper-class girl who treats his interest with side-eye. To win her over, Noah climbs a Ferris wheel for her. It works, of course, until her family breaks the pair up. Not only does he then build his ex-girlfriend a house, Nora writes to her every day for a year. A few things that I'd like to say. One, I've never seen The Notebook.
I have. I understand why it's liked. It's not one of my favorite romantic movies, but I understand why it's up there with like how When Harry Met Sally or something like that.
Second, I believe because it's technically a period piece, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, because it's like set in not 20s, 50s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like period piece, at the time things are very different in terms of society and social norms when it comes to like courting and stuff. So there's that. And also like he's again like what Donut says, like, trying to he's trying Noah is trying to win the affections of the girl because she treats to his interest, like she's not oblivious to it, and like he's trying to show her that he's actually kind of
and most of her issues are related to, oh, this person is beneath me, oh, this person is of a different class. So his response is to try and prove to her that despite being quote unquote lower class, he can actually be worthy of her, can be devoted to her, can do grand romantic gestures of the kind that would woo a person of higher standing back in the day. And he knows he has to work harder at it because of that class issue. Therefore, he does work harder at it, and we are supposed to consider that sympathetic, because that is him going above and beyond to demonstrate that he has genuine feelings for this person.
Yeah. If you want to bring him a bad romance, well, not bad, but, well, objectively, you could say it is from an outsider's perspective, where the female has done wrong to the male. Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Oh, God.
Am I wrong, though?
No, you're not. You are not. You are definitely not wrong. That was why the reaction, because that movie is framed so romantically, but I mean, fucking hell,
Jenny.
she strings him along just enough for decades, gives birth to a child with a crippling disease, and then he, a mentally deficient person, has to spend the remainder of his life taking care of and looking after the other.
Actually, I believe someone had mentioned, like, theorized that it's not Forrest's kid.
No, and that therein lies the other thing. It very well may not be her kid, or it may well not be his kid, but he's still on the hook for it because he has such one-itis over this girl. Granted, I don't blame him because she was nice to him, or potentially nice to him when no one else was, or when he thought there was something fundamentally wrong with him, and he was vulnerable to what he thought the world was. And I can tell you that one of the reasons I'm such a guarded asshole is because people do tend to feign nicety to people with disabilities, whether they're physical or mental, and it does ruin your ability to trust people because you can never tell, is this person being nice to me because they respect me like any other person would, or is this person being nice to me, in fact, not because they respect me, but because they have pity and contempt for me? Because that is the dirty little secret that nobody who tries to be nice ever really wants to get around to. Niceness, in most cases, niceness between equals, is out of respect usually. There's something about a person that you respect, and therefore you are nice to them because you respect them for whatever reason.
Hello.
Niceness, yes, and thank you. Niceness for someone we find to be in some way manifestly inferior usually comes out of pity and contempt. And the thing about pity, and I will never cease in explaining this, because it bothers me that people think that pity is some noble feeling. In order to pity someone, you have to believe that you are in some way better than them. And that means that pity is a kind of condescension. It means that you are looking down on someone who may have other attributes that make them just as worthy as anyone else. But the first thing you see screams inferiority at you, and so you respond with what you assume is an attempt at compassion, but what in most cases usually is an attempt to boost your own ego. And that is why I have no patience whatsoever for pity, and why the number one thing among any of my friends that I respect and value is respect in return. Because I am sick to death of someone being nice to me because they think I'm less than they are. If you're going to be nice to me, be nice to me because I deserve it, or because you respect me for reasons, not because you want to get moral points by being nice to the inferior person.
Hello.
Sorry, that was a side tangent, but dear gods, is it a necessary side tangent? Moving on.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that, honestly.
I realize that I'm kind of a showstopper when I get on those kind of subjects, but yeah, it's it's a massive level of butthurt that I have in that regard. I'm not gonna lie, and I probably shouldn't have it nearly as much as I do, but you have people condescendingly baby talk at you for 25 years sometime and tell me you don't want to fucking punch people in the face sometimes.
Actually, I was gonna say that. Well, I think I was gonna say. Remember the time I got attacked by those dogs? Technically, I was crippled for a while.
Yeah.
I got shit. Got nothing from that. I got no pity, nothing. Granted, I wasn't in school at the time. Like, what I mean is, like, I didn't go to school for like a month or two.
I don't blame you. I
No.
think the only time I took that long off was in 8th grade when I got a baclofen pump surgery. But
Wait,
because that had a very long healing process to it.
well, again, you also keep in mind I'm like 5 or 6 at this time. I got my legs torn apart.
Yeah, oof.
Torn apart, but injured to a degree that I had to be like again like have staples and like I think at like cast or something.
Yeah, I can relate. Actually, around that same time was when I got my first leg surgery, which was a surgery where they had to. It's called tendon lengthening, where they basically take your tendon and split it in half and lengthen it out so that your legs are less like bound together. Because one of the things that cerebral palsy does is it makes your limbs very tense, and if you're not careful, they can tense up so badly that you break something. So one of the very first things they usually do is cut into tendons so that they aren't as tense, or they can't get quite as tense.
Oh,
What?
I'm squeamish at blood. Can you imagine what it's like me picturing that shit?
For the record, I didn't feel most of that, and I was unconscious for most of that, but it did hurt like hell for a while afterwards. So if you're getting secondhand pain out of that, then don't, because I don't remember the majority of it.
I'm picturing it, okay, and you know me, I got like a vivid imagination, man. I'm just, oh,
Okay, focus back on the article.
yeah. I wasn't even this squeamish when I donated blood.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
I'm taking a drink. God, I
Step
wish.
away from the ledge of the abyss.
Oh, but okay, I'm good. Nope, no, I'm not. I'm not good. I'm not good. Oh my god. Oh, I'm good. I am good. I'm good now. I think. We'll see. If these scenarios sound suspiciously like stalking to you, they are. No.
I
Okay,
could see a situation where the Ferris wheel thing might potentially be, but the letter writing, not really. I mean, technically, she didn't even have to open them and read them.
yeah, okay. Stalking, it's like, okay, I don't disagree with the Ferris wheel thing, sure. But the thing is, stalking, there's kind of usually a malicious intent behind it.
Yeah. And I can see someone who became like obsessed with somebody stalking them. I
Yandere.
mean,
We call those yanderes.
yeah, but being that as it may, in the context of the um
Movie.
in the context of the movie, it's not stalking. It's essentially the same kind of action as in those old school carnival movies where the guys like they whack the hammer down on the board to try and hit the bell in those strength testing games to try and impress their girlfriends. It's essentially a larger scale, more extreme version of that because A, movies require tension and stakes, and B, as previously stated, because of the class difference between them, he knows he has to go above and beyond to try. He essentially knows he's playing with a metaphorical handicap, so he has to work twice as hard to even get to the starting line than most people would.
Yep. All right. And according to a recent study, continuing to romanticize these narratives may be incredibly dangerous. Oh my god. Okay, here's the thing. Most people of humanity are able to tell the difference between fiction and reality. And the fact that you are implying that people are too influenced by these romantic comedies to the way.
It's the usual tabula rasa argument of human nature doesn't exist, therefore the world that we see it inflicts restrictions on us that wouldn't otherwise be there. It's people are too blank, and they're basically wind up automatons that do whatever you tell them to do. So showing a romantic comedy to somebody is basically, according to this person, winding them up to be a stalker.
Jesus, motherfucker!
You yelling at the article or the dog?
No, fireworks, I think. I hope. Like outside.
Why in God's name would they be firing fireworks on Valentine's Day?
There were some on Christmas, remember?
Yeah, I know. And we live right next to a softball field, and for some reason somebody likes to go over there and set off fireworks sometimes randomly, and I don't understand that either.
Yep. The fucking dumbasses are everywhere. Good to know that the city doesn't have a monopoly on that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was scrolling through social media and I found out that my friends, who are technically the lovebirds that have been together since freshman year of high school, will be together in 2 weeks for almost 6 years.
Well, good for them, but also
Fuck them.
Screw their over-the-top happiness.
No, but they've been engaged for since senior year, so yeah.
When my aunt finally got married, she had been with the guy she had been with for around 6 years too.
But yeah, they have the goal to strive for, but also fuck them for being so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck your happiness when everyone else is in pain.
No, but they're good people.
Yeah, and they probably deserve it. So, yay.
Yeah. All right. It's good to know that there are some people out there who can find love and keep it. That's a difficult thing, actually.
Yeah, the and keep it part appears to be the difficult bit.
No, but full on fucking tangent there. But yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Published in the academic journal Communication Research, the University of Michigan's Julia Lippman looked at how Hollywood movies depict persistent pursuit. Okay, here's the thing, and we did this with Let It Snow. Okay, swap the roles. Is it the same fucking thing?
I think you mean Baby It's Cold Outside was the song we did it with.
Right, Let It Snow is part of the lyrics. That's not my bad.
Right.
Sorry, I'm a little tired, you know.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, yeah, same thing. If this were a female character lusting incredulously after a male one,
Anime.
would
look at any anime, really.
Yeah, would you consider that female character to be a creepy stalker, or would you call the male character a misogynist for not capitulating to her desires?
Dude,
Because I'm willing to bet at least some feminist would say this movie is misogynist because it implies men have a right to refuse emotionally distraught women or something.
okay, two things. One, imagine the version of us that are female, and like the in the
In the gender swapped universe where meninism exists and women's rights advocates are as maligned as men's rights advocates are here.
yeah, dude, a lot of movies would be so weird, honestly.
Yeah, I don't even I somehow I can't even picture it. Especially because the men in that universe would act more like women and the women in that universe would act more like men.
I
And
I kind of be okay with that, kind of.
yeah, and again, this is the part where we usually think about dating our alternate universe selves through like a multiverse portal or something.
Hmm. Okay, I'm moving on. I'm not. I don't want to. But the same thing.
Yeah. Back away from the abyss again.
The same thing was, yeah, I brought it up. Anime, like harem anime, or like a lot of romance anime have that thing where
Hmm.
the guy's the oblivious one, and it's the girl that's chasing him.
Hmm. Or
Obviously.
or hell. Okay. As an example that everyone knows at this point. Remember in Twilight how for a long time Edward didn't want anything to do with Bella because he was afraid he would hurt her or some shit? And remember how the entire audience was on Bella's side this entire time and was waiting for her to get the guy? And remember how she basically had to throw herself in front of a bus before he did anything to save her or protect her? Well, yeah, same thing.
Mhm.
Because if there's a wall between you and another person, and you want to get behind that wall, you have to put in the effort to get behind the wall.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. When the media tells us ah, when the media tells us it's okay for a man to risk his life and those of everyone around him by climbing an amusement park ride to chase a girl who doesn't want you, audiences are more likely to accept these actions as appropriate too. After all, we've been told this behavior is acceptable all our lives. What the fuck? Who the fuck thinks like this? Like, I know,
Okay,
like, I'm sorry, no, but may I? Like,
go. Please go on. I need a second to put my thoughts in order anyway.
seriously, who the fuck thinks like this? Because if I remember correctly, the Ferris wheel stopped, so it wasn't moving, which I would understand would have made sense if the Ferris wheel was moving and he started to climb it to her. Sure, but it was stable and relatively safe. Again, it was kind of a stupid move on his part, but I think again, like he had to show his dedication to get her attention.
Hmm. Okay, two things. Now that Brainstormer has said his piece. Thing one, you said that this was a study. What exactly was the methodology of that study, and how are you measuring it? Because without the methodology and the actual data to go off of, we're just essentially supposed to believe your interpretation of the data. And if we're just supposed to take your word for what the data says, then you don't get any extra special treatment because you brought a study. Because that's just an appeal to authority. In order for a study to actually have weight, you actually have to look at the methodology, demonstrate that it proves what you say it proves, and explain how you goddamn measured shit. Second thing, because this is actually legitimately kind of pissing me off. Notice what issue the author of this article takes in that exchange. They're not taking an issue with the guy literally almost killing himself, climbing up the Ferris wheel to save or impress a woman. They're taking an issue with the fact that him doing that inconveniences her. That's basically like saying men can work themselves half to death trying to prove themselves to women, and women are under no obligation whatsoever to care. Fuck you. Women's opinions are not as worthwhile as men's lives. That is a false equivalency. That is you saying that a woman's pleasure is worth more than a man's safety, his physical well-being, or possibly his life. And incidentally, fuck you so very fucking hard that you wind up in the next universe over.
I'm not even gonna ask because I know you're not.
No, I'm good. For now, anyway.
Alright. If a movie showed the act of being stalked as scary, see Single White Female. Oh my god, that is an actual fucking movie. So help me. I mean, I assume it is, but I mean, you got a movie like Crazy Rich Asians, so it might just title alone might not mean it's bad.
Yeah, if it Crazy Rich Asians is actually really good, funnily enough.
I didn't check it out because it didn't really seem like my type of movie. To be honest, like the trailer.
And maybe not. It's a little bit style over substance a little bit, but I thought it was good. It's a pleasant little movie. But if you want movies that display stalking as negative, I invite you to the vast and exclusive club of literally every Lifetime movie ever. There's an entire channel devoted to these kinds of movies. It's basically stalking porn. Very, very softcore stalking porn, but still stalking porn. And if you actually looked at movies like the Lifetime movies, or like something like, oh, I don't know, Gerald's Game, which is a really, really fucked up movie on Netflix, by the way. I'm not sure if it's originally from Netflix or if I just saw it there, but I think it's a Netflix original and it's fucked up beyond all reckoning. If you look at those kind of movies, you'll spot the difference between romantic gestures of the kind that we see in The Notebook and stalking, because the stalker knows that the woman does not want him, knows that she is serious, and actively seeks to harm her for refusing him. The romantic cavalier of the kind that scales the side of a Ferris wheel is just trying to get someone who's written them off to notice them and knows they have to work a little bit harder at it. And notice also that the reasoning of the woman in the movie The Notebook has most to do with class. It doesn't have to do with anything he's done or anything he's said, really. It just has to do with, you're beneath me, so I don't even notice you. And that is not a rational argument. But once again, we're not bitching at the woman for being irrational and prejudiced and snobby. We're bitching at the man for apparently just trying to prove himself. Because notice, he never attempted to harm her. He never forced anything on her. The most insistent thing he did were the notes, and she was under no obligation to read those. She could have literally taken every single one of those notes and thrown them into a fire once every however many times these letters were sent, and she never have to read them. But he wrote them on the off chance that she would read them, And when she did, she found the content thereof compelling. So the fuck? What you're describing is a woman who initially wrote somebody off, becoming convinced that that was the wrong choice. And apparently men shouldn't be allowed to try to prove themselves or convince someone to like them when they didn't originally, I guess. Moving on.
Lippman. Let me start over because we stopped at mid sentence. If a movie showed the act of being stalked as scary, Lippman found that exposure to such narratives led participants to endorse fewer stalking supportive beliefs. Motherfucker, no one thinks. Well, okay, the stalkers do, but an average ordinary person doesn't think stalking is okay.
Yeah. And here's door number 2. How broadly are you defining the term stalking? Because I strongly suspect that most of the stalking supportive movies that you're talking about are actually just movies where large romantic gestures occur, and that's being misinterpreted or actively distorted into stalking. Because if you're qualifying the shit that happens in the Notebook as stalking, then I strongly suspect you're broadening the word stalking to a definition that it does not belong with. Because I don't care how many movies on stalking you see, if the thing in question is actually stalking and not just grand gestures, the person in question watching it will not like it, even if they are told somehow it's okay within the context of the story. But again, you'll find that movies that actually glorify stalking do not exist, except for the kind that glorify it as a negative, horrible, evil thing. Again, referring to the hyper dramatization of Lifetime style movies. Moving on.
Yeah. But watching Hollywood romances had the opposite result. Lippman writes, the romanticized pursuit behaviors commonly featured in the media as part of normative courtship can lead to an increase in stalking supportive beliefs. Again, how do you like I agree with you on this. How do you define stalking?
Because it seems like you're throwing a bunch of shit into the word stalking that doesn't belong there, is the thing. And if you're defining stalking differently than most people would define stalking, then we have no reason to find this shocking. Because the reason why people find certain concepts shocking is because they find the definition of those concepts to be shocking. If you change the definition, you change how people necessarily are going to react to it. If you include a bunch of benign or neutral shit into stalking that doesn't belong there, you're going to change people's reaction to the term stalking into something either benign or neutral. If you want people to have a shocked reaction to stalking, then you need to keep it as strict and consistent as you can with the definition that most people actually use.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had something for this. Yeah, the whole with the big romantic gestures thing. I believe it depends. Like again, like I think it was very stupid of Noah from the Notebook to do the whole climbing thing. Even though there was logic behind it. Personally, this is one movie with Danny DeVito and guy who played what was it? Ferris Bueller. Can't remember his actual name.
Matthew Broderick.
Thank you. Fun fact: he actually the last acting thing I remember him doing is from this show on Netflix called Daybreak, which is like a zombie apocalypse teen drama. But no, like I mean, to be fair, it was more of a family film thing, but like for Danny DeVito's character to rebuild or kind of try and fix his relationship with his wife in that movie was to create this like big giant what was it? Christmas lights show for them.
Oh, you're talking about Deck the Halls.
Thank you. Like I couldn't remember it, like the name for it, but
I was trying to think of something that had Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick in it together, and I completely forgot about Deck the Halls.
Yeah, but my point being is like it's a big gesture for just on the fact that it takes a lot of time and stuff. And people like that. Like some people do. Again, like it's a case by case scenario, but my point being is, there are times where you need the big gestures to show how much you really care for someone.
Yeah, we respect effort usually.
Yeah.
Especially if if that effort is being conducted on our behalf.
Mm-hmm.
To make us feel something.
But again, like it really just depends on the definition and what examples are defined as stalking.
Yeah, because if you change the definition, then we need to react to your changed definition. We don't need to react to stalking as it originally meant. If you found that genuine stalking was encouraged by these behaviors, then you might have a point. But you haven't demonstrated that, and you haven't defined your terms. And therefore, you have committed a technical and philosophical error. If you don't define your terms, you don't define your methodology, and you don't define your data, then nobody has to give a shit about your study because that study is frankly fucking worthless. If its methodology is bad, if its terms are ill-defined or not defined at all, and its data is compromised, then the study itself is worthless, and any attempts to appeal to it are just naked appeals to authority. You're trying to give your bullshit extra clout by saying, look, we have a fancy intellectual study that smart people came up with. But unfortunately, if those smart people were frankly huffing their own farts for 5 seconds when they made that study means nothing. And that's all it appears to amount to, is a bunch of very highly paid, intelligent people patting themselves on the back for being very intelligent, so that other moderately intelligent people can congratulate them for being intelligent. Moving on. And Brainstormer is temporarily gone, so I apologize that I may have to attempt to stall. I know I'd wait in line until you think you have the time to spend an evening with me. And if we go someplace to dance, I know there's a chance you won't be leaving with me. Then afterwards we drop into a quiet little place and... Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Thought I heard some and checked outside.
Okay.
Okay. Connection between stalking and love is pervasive throughout Hollywood films. From the aforementioned Nicholas Sparks adaptation to romantic comedies like Say Anything, Crazy Stupid Love, and 500 Days of Summer. I believe I've only heard of the last two. I've never heard of Say Anything.
I've heard of Say Anything, and I've heard of Crazy Stupid Love, but I don't remember 500 Days of Summer.
Oh, it was. I believe it was work. It was directed by Mark Webb. Yeah, he. If you guys don't know who Mark Webb is, he did the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
And that will never cease to make me laugh. The guy whose last name was Webb did movies about Spider-Man.
I honestly wish he had gotten to make the movies he wanted for Spider-Man.
Yeah, instead of studio notes from Sony, the movie.
Yeah, because the first one is good on a base level, like it has an emotional core there. I feel like it's just missing a lot of stuff and maybe needed a few rewrites in the script.
Mm.
You know, like it has a skeleton there, but it's missing a few parts, is the thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know a lot about romantic comedies because they're not really my thing. So it's more Dalton's expertise. No offense.
None taken. I am quite stereotypically gay in this regard. I really enjoy rom-coms and romance movies.
The weird thing is, I like romance in other things. Like it's not the focal point.
But when it's the focal point, you get turned off.
Yeah, because I don't know, it feels contrived, honestly.
Usually for me, there has to be some other added thing in a romance movie before I find it genuinely romantic. Usually in romantic comedies, I find the comedy part more worthwhile than the romance part because it's essentially a foregone conclusion. Boy or girl meets boy or girl, and boy or girl gets boy or girl kind
Yeah.
of thing.
It's kind of why I like books, like action or like some book series of mine, like Percy Jackson.
Hmm.
Because like I like the romance between Annabeth and Percy, like how it grows and develops over like the 5 books.
Mm.
Even though that's not like the main thing, obviously.
I've never really given the Percy Jackson books a look beyond the fact that the guy that I've had a crush on for since pretty much forever swore by those.
I'm surprised you haven't because given your knowledge and interest in like the
I think that actually might be why I never really got into them because I knew they would change or distort things that I didn't want changed or distort. I've seen the movie and I like the movie fine. The
second movie.
first one anyway. The second one is not good. But
Anyway,
yeah.
total side tangent. Um, in a prominent example, the popular British rom-com Love Actually famously features a subplot in which Mark, Andrew Lincoln of The Walking Dead, lusts after his best friend's bride-to-be, played by Keira Knightley, despite the fact that he appears to despise her. After she discovers that Mark has been secretly filming her during wedding rehearsals in masturbatory close-up, Mark shows up to her house with a set of giant cue cards to confess her love via postcard. Mark is not only a terrible friend, he exhibits most of the common characteristics of a stalker. There is something called a bad romance movie, right? That's a thing.
Yeah,
It does
and
sound,
also you're literally saying that he never came out to her with any of this except for the signs thing. And if she hadn't discovered that he was filming her, he would have only used it for his personal use, if anything. And it probably wouldn't have actually been sexual. That's probably something you're projecting onto it. It probably would have just been from what I remember of Love Actually, Mark was a very introverted, very shy, very sensitive guy, and couldn't bring himself to ruin his friendship with his friend, or with his friendship with her to actually introduce romance into the situation. And again, speaking as somebody who swings in the other direction, I definitely know what it's like to want to keep things from someone so that they will continue to be your friend. Because in my case, if I ever came out to someone who I liked and they were grossed out or insulted or hated me because of it, I could wind up dead in a ditch before I could even yell ow. So, yeah, and also when we like someone, when human beings like someone, this thing happens that involves a flood of endorphins. One of the things that a flood of endorphins does is it magnifies the importance of the person um, we're directing it at in terms of how our brain focuses on them. And when you believe that someone is above you, when you believe that someone is in some way perfect or in some way compelling, you do think to yourself on occasion, and I can confirm this in my case, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. They could never possibly want me. I'm not good enough for them. I've never been good enough for them. There's nothing I could possibly ever do to be good enough for them. I'm just going to try and be their friend so that I can justify standing in their presence and hoping in vain that they will smile at me or treat me kindly so that I have something to fill the empty hole in my heart with.
Hey, Don.
Mhm.
I know this is completely side-handed, but I say this as a friend. Stop doing that, or I will literally transport myself through the interwebs and strangle your ass.
I know it's not irrational impulse. That's why I mentioned the flood of endorphins. This is your brain on the fucked up nature of romantic love, folks. You will do the single stupidest thing you can think of when you're truly head over heels for somebody who you know will never love you back.
I think I'm lucky, or I haven't been head over heels. But, like I said, I normally just ask the girl out, and she says no, and I say cool.
Mm-hmm.
To be fully honest, I just
And
kind of expect them to say no, so I'm not like. Now I'm sad.
but
Anyway.
we have each other, so
Yeah.
there.
Okay. I'm sorry. Please continue your point.
I can't remember what the rest of my point was.
Fuck.
Oh wait, yes I do. So okay, you just heard my lengthily contrived same-sex example of the very same phenomena. Now let's take it back and click it and drag it over to the dynamics of a heterosexual relationship. If a man is under that sway of endorphins, whereby in his brain her beauty is magnified to a ludicrous degree, and he's thinking to himself, um, she's the most perfect, most beautiful person I've ever seen. I will never ever be worthy of her. But she's nice to me and I'm on good terms with her, so I'm going to at least maintain a friendship with her. And then his friend, his best friend, I believe, in the context of the movie, actually does what he wishes he could do and gets with her. Well, now we have another situation. I don't want to ruin my friendship with her, and I don't want to hurt my best friend. So here we are, caught between a rock and a hard place of at least she talks to me, but I'm also going to have to deal with the notion that they're with somebody else for the rest of my life. That's fucking torture. To know that not only are they not with you, but they're with someone so similar to you as your best friend, and yet you couldn't just get up the gumption to ask them out, or to say, I would very much like for this to attempt, or for us to see if this can become more than just a friendship. That's got to sting. And yet he still only does the thing with the notes and take a few pictures of her. Also, was he the one recording the wedding video? Because I think he was. It wasn't like he was sneaking another kind of camera in there or anything. I'm pretty sure he was just going. He was the one in charge of doing the wedding video. But I'd have to watch Love Actually again because I might not have been paying attention.
Mm.
So even the creepiest thing you can imagine him doing is just him getting a little bit too into the job of taking the wedding video, I believe. But again, don't quote me. It's been a long ass time since I watched Love Actually, and there's like 3 or 4 different subplots in Love Actually, and I'm trying to keep the subplot straight. Anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm. That's just the tip of the iceberg. In the Adam Sandler vehicle, 50 First Dates, Sandler's character, Henry, meets Lucy, Drew Barrymore, who could not form new memories due to an accident. As Refinery 29's Molly Horan writes, Henry responds by using her tragedy to his benefit, learning her schedule, putting her in new and exciting situations over which he has complete control, marrying her and raising children with her on a boat where she can't escape.
Okay. This one I have seen frequently enough to say so.
Yeah, I remember it. Isn't the point is even if she can't remember the new things, he goes out of his way and he spends his time and effort in his life with her to give her every new day something worthwhile, even if she's not going to remember it.
Yeah, and also she falls in love with him 50 separate times under 50 separate circumstances. I think it's fair to say at that point that she had a thing for him, or she would have had she not had her impairment. And he was even willing to cope with her disability and accommodate it, which is something that you don't often see in movies that involve disabled characters. The disability is often a deal breaker, or it's something that's not as noticeable. And what do we get? We get a bunch of feminist aligned critics going, this movie is biased against disabled people because it shows that people won't put in the effort to accommodate disabilities. And then when somebody makes a movie where a person is willing to accommodate disabilities, that's somehow taking advantage of her disability, even though one of the things that sort of fixes her disability is because he is willing to put in 50 separate days of effort with her and make her fall in love with him separately without her knowledge every single time, which means she was able to make an independent choice every single time. Because he did that, he is now a thing that she subconsciously remembers. And she has positive memories of him. Now, you can make arguments for psychic driving or for Stockholm Syndrome or whatever, but the fact remains that if we are to take anything she thinks seriously, and the entire premise of this requires us to, then she has positive affiliation towards him so strong that it overcomes brain damage and head trauma. And he is willing to, every single day of his life, explain to her what happened so that she doesn't freak out and try to kill herself. Every time. That is an immeasurable amount of effort. That is not stalking. That is loving someone so unconditionally that you're willing to put up with a crippling illness and ensure that her life is happy. That's so beyond stalking. I can't even. Moving on. You're even making my cat upset apparently.
Yeah. In About Time, Tim, Donald Gleason goes to even greater lengths to woo Mary, Rachel McAdams. Born into a family of time travelers, Tim uses magic powers to reverse engineer a whirlwind romance with Mary. He's able to become her dream man by routinely fixing his mistakes by going back to erase them from history, rather than problematizing the situation or having Tim inform his beloved that he's tricked her into romantic bliss. Film considers this a completely normal way to get the girl.
Okay, what you're seeing there is him trying to improve himself to be worthy of her again.
I'm sorry. Please,
Go ahead.
No, it's a completely different thing. Please finish the thing.
What we're seeing there is him realizing he made a mistake and trying to put her in a situation where she is inclined to consent. He's not trying to do anything whatsoever without her consent because, again, a key feature of human psychology is wanting the desire of people we find desirable. All he's doing is making sure that he does what will make her happy and trying to learn from his failure. Granted, the way he does it raises some philosophical questions about, can this possibly count if it's perfected in this way? Can it count if you're literally recycling the day every time you fail, and so on and so on? But in and outside of the movie, it's just him. It's basically Groundhog Day with a romantic subplot, or an even more romantic subplot than Groundhog Day ever actually had.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, again, I was gonna say, like, I saw the trailer for this, but again, like, it wasn't really. It's not like these aren't my kind of movies, so. I believe. Yeah, no, I got none. I got nothing. A classic Onion article from 1999 parodied these films by showing what would happen if men behaved this way in real life. Showing up at someone's house blasting loud music outside their house isn't romantic and might get you arrested. Yeah, no, I mean, seriously.
Well, it depends on whether they had a previously established relationship or not.
Yeah.
If this were someone who literally had never seen that person before and they did it, that would be in fact very creepy. But there's usually either a very strong friendship between the characters, or there is a previous romantic relationship that fell through the cracks because of the person's failings, and the person is going out of their way to try and earn the person back. And I stress the word earn for a reason, because you seem to be unfamiliar with this notion that love is a thing that has to occasionally be earned.
They also, for an example, Denny Marzano was taken into custody after violating a restraining order filed against him by Kelly Hamilton, 25, an attractive unmarried kindergarten teacher who is new to the LA area. According to Hamilton, Marzano had stalked her for the past 2 months, spying on her, tapping her phone, serenading her with the Carpenters close to you at her place of employment, and tricked her into boarding Caribbean-bound jets. Marzano, who broke his leg last week falling off a ladder leaning against Hamilton's second-story bedroom window, said he was extremely surprised that his plan to woo Hamilton had failed. Okay, that makes that makes no sense in this context at all.
Yeah, you're taking these actions out of the pre-established context.
No, I mean, like, within context of the article, this makes no sense. That's what I mean. This is a real life situation, and it's also stated that the guy that she's a new person to the LA area, and this guy was legitimately stalking her, like tapping her phone and shit. That's
that's legitimately creepy.
yeah, but
That's well outside of the realm of grand romantic gestures.
no, that's just
But you refuse to understand the difference between stalking and grand romantic gestures.
yeah. No, but yeah, no. With the context of the article, this example makes no fucking sense. Alright, this news story isn't hypothetical. The Tumblr account "When Women Refuse," great Tumblr, documents what actually happens to women when men won't take no for an answer. That rejection becomes life-threatening.
Okay, you are conflating a bunch of shit here.
And again, like we've been saying this a lot. Actually, it's a case-by-case scenario in actual real life.
Yeah. So, some people actually do play hard to get. Some people actually do want to see how far a person will go. And some people are immediately turned off, are seriously turned off, and tell the person to go fuck themselves. But that's the other thing. Usually in romantic comedies, it's not a hard no. It's a no with an asterisk, i.e., no, but maybe if you do X, Y, and Z. So the men go and they try to determine X, Y, and Z.
Granted,
And also the men in these cases are fucked in the head. Because as we previously established, a key feature of romantic interactions among human beings is mutual desire. The theory of mind, the desire of the person that you desire being returned to you. If a person is so hormonally desperate that they are willing to overlook a no, that person is fucked in the head. Because the thing that most sane, rational human beings are courting when they court someone is the desire of that person.
yeah. Granted, my go-to line to a woman who's playing hard to get is, especially like if we're at a bar, and I did steal this from something, so I can't take full credit of it. But if a woman, like if she said, we're talking and stuff, she asks, most guys would ask to buy me a drink. I would say any woman who can be bought is not a woman worth having.
That is a very reasonable standard.
But I will give you 3 guesses on where I got it from.
But I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm tired and distracted right now.
Yeah, Daredevil, Kingpin, season 1.
Ah.
I realized I took a line from a bad guy, a villain who in the same season of Daredevil, like season 1, he decapitated a man's head. I think in that episode where he used that line actually. So, but no, it's a good line, and no, I totally agree.
And I think that goes for any human. If you can be bought, then you're not worth the price.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one post. Apparently, I refused him repeatedly, and one time he got violent. One poster writes, "He took a pocket knife out and tried to stab me, but luckily a nearby stranger rescued me."
And you are conflating this with romantic comedies. You oblivious to the power of 10 asshole.
Um, last that man continued to stalk and harass her for 3 more years.
Well, we've already established this person is fucked in the head because they don't have the basic human empathy required to understand the theory of mind and why it is important to romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason why we don't get romantic and sexual until after puberty or during puberty. Because puberty is when our brain restructures via hormones and we develop this thing called an advanced abstract theory of mind, i.e., we begin to understand that other people have minds that are similar to ours in the way they function, but different in terms of content, and therefore those things need to be taken into consideration. It's when we begin to understand things like subjectivity. Now, granted, subjectivity can be abused, misused, and quite frankly, applies to way too many things in our current culture, which is why I consider it something to be discouraged whenever possible. But in the realms of things like desire and emotion, it is unavoidable and a necessary factor to consider. I.e., if you want to understand a person, you actually need to get to know them. This person that you've described here does not have those things. There is something wrong with this person's brain, either because of a genetic defect or because they were traumatized and abused at some point.
Yeah.
These are the facts, and that is what you have to do to someone to turn them into a secondary psychopath or a narcissist. Sorry.
Slifer Claw says it's about the confidence, not the lying. I'd say it's a bit of both. You should take that advice to heart, Don. No offense.
Yeah, but that requires confidence, and I don't really. I mean, I have confidence, but it's not enough confidence to get me where I want to go.
Okay, so I'm gonna say something, and people, please keep in mind that he and I have been friends for a good while now.
Yeah.
So, come on, Don, get some of that gay pride.
I would say fuck you to that, but you just punned on a level that not even I can manage with a straight face. So I'm going to golf clap as soon as I can find something to set my phone up against and justify the golf clapping. Ah, fuck. God damn it. This is becoming inconvenient now. Okay. Fuck. Okay. Well punned, sir.
I legitimately didn't even mean it as a pun.
No. Which honestly kind of makes it even more adorable. You did it. You out-punned me and you did it by accident. And now you have to live with the consequences of your subconscious being able to pun like that. Even though you hate puns.
Yeah, okay. Late last month, well, this was published in 2016, so.
Yeah, so last month in the context of this article, which was like 4 years ago.
Oh, 5. Well, 5 the next couple days. Late last month, a Pittsburgh woman, 29-year-old Janice Halton Jackson, was shot to death by a man whose advances she rebuffed in a bar. Okay. I mean, that sucks what fucking happened, but that doesn't. Why the fuck?
Yeah, this doesn't. these are not the same thing. These are not anything like the same behavior. They're not even motivated by the same drives. You are conflating two things that do not go together, put simply.
Yeah. Okay. In 2012, two men stopped a female passerby in Jamatara, India, and ordered the young woman to have sex with them. Okay, that makes them technically rapists or attempted rapists, molesters, I believe.
Yeah. And again, the thing with all rapists that make them
Be right back.
as scummy as they are is they don't understand complex theory of mind. Something went wrong in their lives before they were able to develop a sense of selfhood and other. Because most people develop a sense of empathy by developing a sense of themselves and then learning about the selves of other people as they grow. These people were probably traumatized as children because that is statistically the most likely set of circumstances that leads to people being rapey bastards. If you want to turn someone into a rapist, what you need to do is abuse them as a child. Because trauma begets every cluster of behavior that leads to this kind of shit. It leads to malignant narcissism of various kinds. It leads to secondary psychopathy. It leads sometimes to borderline, depending upon how adaptive the person's mind is to it. But point being, the kinds of mindset or mental disorder, if you like, that lead to people becoming these sorts of awful things are the brain's result or are the brain's response to horrifying fucking trauma. Because it's basically your brain going going tilt like in an old cartoon when you whack someone over the head so hard their eyes turn into fucking slot machine rollers and then you see the 2Ks or the tilt on them. That's basically the brain's equivalent of that. When the brain can take no more pain, when the brain cannot suffer any goddamn more, it's your brain's attempt to check the fuck out is turning you into a narcissist or other malignant version of Cluster P. That's your brain basically saying, fuck, I give up. I got nothing. Fuck empathy, fuck reason, I don't care anymore. This is too goddamn traumatizing. My point for pointing this out is maybe instead of focusing on how the culture of Hollywood somehow leads to people being rapey, you could maybe redirect your focus on let's not traumatize children at all, and then there will be fewer rapists. There might still be people with genetic defects that do it if we eliminate all of the childhood trauma, but at the very least, it will reduce it by a factor of about 100 to 1. And that sounds like a much better world to me than a world in which we're not allowed to enjoy romance movies because of some moralistic prudish bullshit. And or horribly misapprehended studies that don't seem to prove what they say they prove.
Yeah. When she turned them down, her pursuers threw acid in her face, disfiguring her for life.
Again, manifestly brain damaged because of probable childhood trauma.
Yeah.
By all the ascertainable statistics and all the ascertainable information, that is a person whose brain checked out long the fuck ago because it couldn't deal with the pain anymore. Those are not the actions of a sane person. So maybe you need to consider that that's an insane person, and also consider that these anecdotes, however traumatizing and however awful, don't have anything to do with the subject matter at hand. Okay, moving on.
These are shocking stories, and they are hardly unique. There are hundreds like them every year, according to statistics from the Centers of Disease Control. 24 people are abused or raped by their partners every single minute, and that's just in the United States. The CDC also estimates that 7.5 million people are stalked each year, and women are 2.5 times more likely than men to be followed or receive unwanted attention from strangers or intimate partners in their lifetimes.
Okay. I'm going to need to see the data behind those statistics, please. Because the thing that I'm noticing as a trend here is a lot of playing silly buggers with definitions and a lot of playing silly buggers with numbers to make things sound more intimidating. And in actuality, when it comes to trauma, if we really want to play this victimhood game, men are almost 7 times more likely than women to be physically assaulted, not sexually, but physically assaulted, on average. So again, I must ask, since we know that rapists and other negligent individuals basically have brain damage, basically their brains checked out a long time ago and turned off their sense of empathy as a defense mechanism. And since we know that one of the greatest risk factors for someone becoming a rapist is having been abused or raped at some point in their lives, if we want to get the numbers for rape down, then perhaps we should stop traumatizing young children. And one of the ways that you can traumatize a child is by assuming they've done something wrong without demonstrating that they've done something wrong yet. You tell a child you are bad and you will never be good and you will never amount to anything, that is going to fuck up that child's worldview. So maybe if we want fewer rapists in the world, we should be turning an eye towards abusive parents and telling them to stop it. Moving on.
I'm back. Sorry, I was tossing my can away. It would be absurd to suggest that romantic comedies are solely responsible for stalking and harassment, or our society's toxic masculinity problem. Remember when Washington Post critic Ann Hornaday blamed the Isla Vista, California shooting on the Seth Rogen comedy Neighbors? Instead, they were merely part of the problem.
Has it been sufficiently demonstrated that comedies can lead to things like mass shootings? Because again, one of the demonstrable risk factors for such things is trauma in childhood or trauma in general.
Yeah.
So again, you are aiming your crosshairs at the wrong thing. Instead of worrying about all this woo-woo cultural bullshit and conflating definitions and conflating concepts like a motherfucker, you should focus on the world being a little bit less cruel and letting people enjoy their romanticism. Because I can tell you that by being so prudish and so belittling of romance and basically every other kind of art, you're going to make a world that's worse than the world we currently live in, not a better one. And that's just going to lead to more and more broken people.
Yeah.
And more broken people will lead to more horrible crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but them's the rules. You make a horrible world, you will get horrible people out of that horrible world. But that has nothing whatsoever to do with the art people consume. Please get the fuck over yourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Although Lippman found that rom-coms play a role in normalizing certain behaviors, they are also a reflection of wider ideas about what constitutes appropriate behavior. No, they don't.
And how are you defining these? How did you measure this connection? Did you ask people a bunch of questions that had nothing to do with this, and then basically assume by their answers what they actually meant? Because that is attempting mind reading. And you do not know what is going on in a person's mind better than they do. Unless you are a very, 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 very well-trained psychologist. And even then, psychology is on the very fringes of what even qualifies as science and is still in its relative infancy compared to all the other sciences anyway. So even psychologists shouldn't be allowed to just ad hominem people like this, or assume that they know what's going on in their head better than they do, without even having an extensive talk to them.
Yeah.
They just answered a question, and now you're assuming that you know what's going on in their head better than they do, so you can change the intent of their answer to fit your own ends. Well, screw you, frankly.
Hey, Don, did you see the thing I put in private chat?
Hold on. Hey, can we skip this? Yeah, we can save it for next week.
Yeah, I'll, after we're done, I'll tell you what was up. Anyway, yeah. So just for sake of time, and also like the whole StreamYard thing that we kind of have with the limit of 20 hours every month. Because I think we spent like 4 hours last week. We're going to cut things down and just kind of move a few articles to next week, and kind of just move to the last thing to give us a little upbeat.
Yeah, because this was a very heavy article, and I had to do a lot of ranting. So let's get to the fun part of romance, not the oh my god, why won't this stop part.
We still got some more. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. From an early age, we taught bumper sticker ready lessons, never give up, and if at first you don't succeed, try again. They offer us necessary lessons about the value of preservation, but rarely do they illustrate the importance of consent. Rarely are we taught that it's okay to try your best and not get what you want, because your desires aren't the only ones that are important. Rarely are we taught that no deserves respect.
Respect others, care for others, take others' perspectives into account. You weren't taught any of these when you were a kid? Because I may have been an antisocial little asshole who needed those things told to him more than other people, but I'm pretty sure everyone is told to care about others. In fact, it's one of the first things we teach children in the hopes they will eventually become well-adjusted people and be able to do it themselves without any prompting eventually. Because part of childhood is restraining the underdeveloped brains of children so that they develop properly into functional adults when they do go through puberty and do develop the capacity for empathy and the complex theory of mind. So if you weren't taught that, I'm very sorry. It seems like you had a stunted childhood, but most everybody else on the planet is taught pretty much as soon as they ever fuck up as a child, what you did was wrong and you need to apologize, or what you did was wrong and you need to take other people's feelings into consideration. Because I can tell you I was taught that, and I'm pretty sure every other person alive today probably could tell you in some form or fashion that they were taught that. Whether people actually choose to listen to that is another matter entirely, of course, but as a general principle, we're taught that.
Yeah. Moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can understand why people are drawn to stories like the romantic pursuit myth. We like to tell stories in which the little guy overcomes great odds to get what he wants, whether it's working his way to the top of a Fortune 500 company or finally landing a date with the prettiest girl in the room. By championing these stories, we hope that will we be that underdog.
Yeah, everybody wants to believe they're the protagonist of their own stories. You are not going to undo that. even truly, truly fucked up people believe that they are the protagonist of their own stories. It's kind of one of the things that lead to them being disconnected from reality, because the human brain has an amazing capacity to reshape itself when faced with something it can't accept. And when a person who is not well in the head, i.e., a person who has suffered trauma or has suffered pain beyond measure or imagining, is faced with a world where they are not the good guy, they reframe. In fact, this is such a common behavior that amongst the cluster P, the cluster that includes things like secondary psychopathy and narcissism, which are the two most likely outcomes from trauma, there's a behavior that is abbreviated as DARVO, i.e., deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender, which essentially means when a person with a cluster P personality disorder of the malignant kind does something wrong, they have to find some way to reframe it so that the other person is actually in the wrong and they didn't do nothing. Because we all want to see ourselves as either the hero or the victim. Nobody likes seeing themselves as the villain.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yep. But while teaching tenacity is good, these myths have a dangerous side effect. They tell us love is something not that we earn, but that we deserve simply through hard work. No, not at all.
Okay, wait. Go back. Okay.
Okay. What do you want me
How the fuck can you earn something without deserving it as a result of hard work? These you've said the same thing twice with different words, and you think that makes them different concepts. Earning something is obtaining it through hard work. How did your brain just do that? To say that you worked hard for something, therefore you deserve it, is entitled, but we need to teach people that love is something to be earned. You know what you're going to do there? You're going to have a bunch of people trying to earn affection, and as a result, believing that because they worked hard for it, or in the right way for it, that they therefore deserve it. And then we're going to wind up with the same problem. Because the thing you're not understanding is we do teach people that love is something they have to earn, which is why in movies and media, we show people going to extreme lengths to earn that affection. But earning things does usually require a degree or other of hard work. And trying to separate those things is kind of confusing and also contradictory. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. If we persist and do what we are told to do, we must be rewarded for our efforts, often at any cost. I can't help wondering whether Janice Talton, Jackson's killer, initially pictured their fateful interaction as a story he might tell his grandkids someday. So, what the fuck is wrong with you?
She thinks she understands, or they think they understand human behavior better than people do. So they get to condescend because they're one of the good ones.
Well, the fact that they're using a. I don't.
Yeah, in their mind, they truly don't see a difference between the kind of romantic gestures and romantic comedies and genuine crimes. And I kind of find it disturbing, if I'm entirely honest.
You're not the only one.
Which means that either they're misinterpreting what's happening in the movies, or they're misinterpreting what's happening in real life. And I'm not sure which of those is scarier.
Both.
Yeah.
All right. Rather than continuing to promote a toxic mix of romantic entitlement and nice guy logic, we need a new narrative. There it is.
So people shouldn't try to be nice. Or when they're nice, they should do it because it's the right thing to do and not respect any reward or compensation or reciprocity in return. That is remarkably fucked. That is essentially like saying you should be nice, but no one should be under any obligation to give you anything for actually being nice.
I
You
mean,
should just be you should just be nice anyway because you should, and we say so. So don't ever think that people are going to treat you nice in reaction to you being nice, because that means you're entitled. It's kind of a nature of the beast thing. People be nice on the general apprehension that nice things will either come from other people as a response to that niceness, or will happen to them in the world as a result of that niceness.
I mean, to be fair, my belief on that is, well, you know me, so I'm
Yeah,
nice.
I know. But what I'm saying is this person appears to be advocating for a world where someone is nice out of the goodness of their heart and expects no reward or compensation or um, equal treatment in return. Like um, someone should be able to be saved by a fireman from a burning building and then kick that fireman in the balls when they're done saving them.
Okay, I like everything you were saying though sounded more like just general like good person.
Right, and by no means am I saying that every nice act is an opportunistic calculation,
Yeah,
but as a general rule, people are nice, assuming that because they're nice, they will get some kind of niceness back, whether it's um
a thank you or
yeah, or a reward or whatever it happens to be proportional to the thing.
yeah, I agree.
But
Um,
yeah, what people definitely don't accept is I'm nice to you and you are mean to me in return. That that definitely doesn't make sense. But
um,
in your world, that is basically what people would be okay, or what your world would define as okay to do. In your world, the scene in the Notebook where he climbs the Ferris wheel to her should end with her saying, "I said no," and slamming him down the rest of the Ferris wheel and him probably injuring himself.
or probably dying.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving forward, rather, I read that. Um, what about this one instead? A young man meets a generous woman in a bar, a gorgeous woman in a bar. He asks to buy her a drink, and she says no, thank you. He respects her boundaries and moves on to chat with another eligible woman who enthusiastically accepts his offer of a free bread. Ah, that's too easy, though.
The problem is love by its very nature turns off reasoning faculties in a lot of ways, because again, when you find someone attractive, your brain is flooded with so many goddamn hormones.
Um,
You're basically high
yeah.
when you find someone attractive.
Also,
So go ahead.
yeah. What I was gonna say, like the whole. Wait, well, you mentioned like way earlier. Flirting and hard to get. It's a thing too. So she could be testing you in that regard.
Yeah,
In that
because
scenario.
because what people generally want out of romantic interactions is the desire of someone they find desirable. So playing hard to get or flirting dismissively in that way is usually a way of saying, let's see how far you'll go to prove to me that I matter to you.
Right. To be fair, uh, I don't think they know how to like the person who writes this or people that have been referenced in this, like the psychologists and stuff.
Yeah.
People don't know how to flirt.
Mm, no.
Granted,
It
no one really
it
knows
do-
how to flirt. To
yeah,
be
it doesn't appear, but that's the thing. These things are some of the most complex things that human beings have to offer. we're a social species, and we've been propagating a species since the fucking Stone Age and long before. So clearly, the process of romance or mate selection, if you want to get right down to the brass tacks of it, is going to be very complicated. Because human beings are very complicated, and so much of our humanity is tied up with our tendency to want desire from others. It's kind of what makes us human. The idea that we fall in love with the love we get from others. It's like an addiction. Moving on.
Right. Okay. Maybe they do end up together, maybe they don't, but they both go home feeling good about having an interaction that didn't involve harassment or manipulating space-time.
Okay, as far as we know, nobody knows how to effectively do that. But believe me, I've studied literal grimoires, and there aren't time rewriting spells in there.
Right. It's like still so stupid. Anyway, they might not make big budget Hollywood epics about that version of the story, once featuring Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams making out in the rain, but it's the one we need.
No, most of us don't need it. Most of us understand that kind of thing by itself and don't actually find it very romantic. Because romance in the like story sense or in the movie sense is very highly tied to our concept of thrill, because the hormones we have for love, like dopamine and norepinephrine, are very closely tied to the same hormones we get when we get a thrill reaction, like adrenaline. In fact, if you've ever had butterflies in your stomach because somebody who you like said hi to you, or they did something really cute, or they did something vaguely flirty, then you know what it's like to experience adrenaline in relation to romance. And it's that sort of feeling that we like to see captured in stories where people earn other people's affection, because we relate to the notion that we want to be desired by someone we desire and are willing to go to certain lengths to get that. Now, it very much depends on lengths, which is why conflating this to actual crimes is really stupid. But to a certain extent, people like grand gestures, especially when they're done on their behalf, and that really shouldn't need to be explained any further. People like grand gestures, but if it gets to the point of being actually scary, it immediately switches to becoming a turnoff. And if you're a neurotypical human being who has a normal functioning brain, that doesn't need to be explained to you because you already have an intuitive understanding of it. And now, the fun part of the program.
Indeed. You want to go first, or should I go first? Or does it really matter?
I thought we were gonna kind of take turns.
Right. Okay, yeah. Well, I have yours open. Let me open my thing.
Okay.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Okay. I mean, like, do you want to go first, or?
You can go first.
Okay. Oh, this. All right. Your moment to set it up. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so for context, because I totally forgot to do that. We are for this Valentine's month. Me and Dawn have decided to do Smash a Pass list for each week now. So this week we're doing animated Smash a Pass, and for the sake of for it being easier on us, I've taken on female characters, and Dawn has taken on the male characters.
Yeah, because ironically, folks, when it comes to women, Brainstorm and I tend to share a lot of the same preferences. So
Yeah.
this would be really boring if we just sat here and went, "Oh, you would find this character attractive." Well, I agree, and then you would find this character attractive. Well, I agree. So
Also,
I am pulling out my gay card and speaking on the behalf of those of us that like men.
yeah. I would also like to point out the fact that there are 10 each for both of us.
Mhm.
So yeah. Yeah. Just so we have that out of the way. So yeah, I'll go first. Uh, so my first pick is Shigo. You'll see a common theme with the women I've picked out.
He likes girls who can kick his ass.
I mean, can you blame me?
Hmm?
Can you blame me?
No.
Yeah, but yes. So and kind of the reason I picked her was I think you and I had I think we had like a very short conversation prior to stream about like
Hmm.
the animated girl that or girls that um, kind of skyrocketed us to puberty. I don't think those were your words, but
I believe the expression I used was, I wonder how many people that character drop kicked into puberty.
yeah. Um, sorry. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, but I think looking back, she might have been the one who kind of drop kicked me into puberty. Even though I was like, oh god, when this show came out around 2004, I was like five or six. So, well, we also had a previous story on what the fuck happened with me in my early development years, but okay. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, I like Shigo because she's not only that, but she's a very fascinating character, like with the depth that she was given in the show. Like she's not just like a bad guy.
Hmm.
Um, and she just seems like one of those kind of characters that you could just sit down and have a nice chat with over like lunch or something. Plus, she's a fully credentialed teacher, which I find really hot.
Hmm.
I like intelligence too. Like I don't just like that.
Yeah, and given that Shigo is usually much smarter than everyone around her, that kind of follows.
So yeah. Smash pass. Total smash. Um, don't.
I'd have to agree on this one.
I don't think
It's
it's ever going to be a pass for us. Is the thing.
Yeah, we basically made we constituted these lists so that every character on the list would be smashable. So to sort of rebrand the segment a little bit, these are the top 10 animated characters who we both would respectively bang.
Also, just have really nice relationships with.
Yes, because Meaningless sex is neither of our styles.
Once or twice, maybe. It depends on maybe if I'm drunk or not. Probably not.
You'd actually feel comfortable enough to get drunk around Shiko. Okay, I'm going to make
No,
those
no.
funeral arrangements ahead of time. Then.
I meant in general, like with just one night stands.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be satisfied with one night stands, and I don't know if most of the characters that I picked on the proviso that they were attracted to my gender would be okay with that either. I think most of the guys I picked would probably want more.
To be fair, yeah, you're probably right, actually. But yeah, to be fair, it is this. If anything, if we made this list a who's the best, that would be difficult. I think.
Yeah, if we actually organize them by like ranking, that would be difficult.
Yeah. Give me a moment. Okay. All right. So. Well, I have your list, but who do you want me to put on here?
Let's go in the order that I
Right.
sent
Okay.
them
Yeah,
to
I have
you.
I have that I have that order now. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Give me one moment. Okay. There we go. DJ from Total Drama Island. Why did you pick him?
Because he apparently is a star athlete in his school, and he's cute, and he's almost ridiculously sensitive. And someone who is strong enough to beat the living shit out of me, but wouldn't because they're too nice, is pretty much my type.
Yeah, I could see that. That does sound like your type.
Plus, he gets a lot of bad luck throughout the show, and I think on some level he just needs to be held, and that's another thing that seems to be one of my standing kinks. Is I like the notion that someone like that would need me for something, not just want to be with me because they want to be with me, but because I can do something for them that they can't get by themselves, or they can't find anyone else.
Yeah, so smash or pass?
So much smashing, but presumably after several hours of cuddling and romance.
Passing, because
Yeah, the passing portion of this is going to be in the is going to be in the brainstormer's reaction to my list, because while I can find women attractive, I don't think he can usually find men attractive. Or if he can, even if he can acknowledge that they're attractive, that doesn't necessarily mean that he would be attracted to them.
I think he's a good pick, like DJ. And you're right. Like he's kind of like one of the characters that constantly gets shit on that show. Like I don't know what the writers had against him.
Because he's both big and nice, and you can't get a lot of mileage out of a character who's capable and strong, but also nice. Usually, if a character is that capable and that strong, they have to be a dick, or they have to be a background character who doesn't get much attention, or they have to be super unlucky. And in DJ's case, he's kind of both of the latter two, because he doesn't really get much in the way of a subplot until he starts getting the horrible luck. Plus, he likes cute animals, and anyone that big being that gentle with that many cute animals is just too adorable.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I never did like any of the other characters. adult drama. Just I don't know. They never really clicked for me.
Yeah, I don't really like anybody but DJ.
Okay, so my turn.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So my second one is Raven from Teen Titans, the original, not Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, and this is another one I'm gonna have to second because she was my second ever fictional crush on a girl.
Right. Mainly the reason why is I think she kind of was the first ever goth. It kind of made me realize I kind of like goth girls, but more like not like emo per se, more like alternative. If that makes any sense, like alternative punks.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's not like. Because the thing I loved about Raven from the Teen Titans was because she wasn't like uncaring or emotionalist. I liked her that she. It's very similar to how I am. Like I don't show a lot of emotions myself, but I have this deep emotional center to myself, and I
And yeah, again, as his friend, can confirm it's there and it's kind of amazing.
yeah, and so I felt like a kinship with her, and plus again, like she's hot.
Yeah,
I yeah, just
I don't dispute any of these reasons. Again,
plus
if
also bookworm and just a fascinating person to be around. Like again, like I think a lot of my choices are just people I also like just to hang out with.
yeah, and the only thing I would add to my reasoning for Raven, especially, after studying magic for 14 years or so, she's a sorceress and we would have magic in common. So that would also be a plus. And again, there's a little bit of the needs to be held factor with her because of the whole
My daddy,
literal hell dimension of daddy issues thing.
yeah. All right, moving forward. Well, yeah,
Mhm.
Smash and Pass, Total Smash, obviously.
And I can't help but agree.
Yeah. All right. So Dalton's
God
Hercules.
damn it, the screen froze.
Oh yeah, Hercules from Disney's Hercules.
Yeah. I had to be very specific because
There are a lot.
depending on the version of Hercules you're talking about, he can be kind of an asshole or insane, and that's not exactly attractive. But again, it's the charming, lovable, kind of goofy, but superhumanly strong person, and his whole purpose in life is essentially protecting people. And I think there's even a line which he says to Meg in the movie that's like, "You're the most fascinating person with weak ankles I've ever met." And yeah, again, I'm physically disabled, so the
Um,
idea of him actually finding my weakness cute and wanting to like scoop me up and protect me is very much in the vein of things that make me want to smash his eyes out.
all right. He's a guy I'd like to hang out with. And like honestly, I kind of see him as like kind of that buddy I'd get along with, like the jock.
Brainstormer? Did StreamYard shit
No,
the
no,
bed or
here I had a conversation I need to do.
Okay,
Where was I?
that's fine.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like,
Hercules.
yeah. I'd also say like Disney's Hercules kind of reminds me a little bit of Superman in a sense, kinda.
Yeah, he's
So
basically part Superman, part Captain America, and part Rocky.
yeah, so yeah. Again, pass though because I'm
Yeah,
just
he doesn't swing that way, but I definitely do, and Herc is definitely. He would have me. He would have me singing the song "I Won't Say I'm in Love" as well.
right.
Apologies to Meg.
This is when I know you're gonna pass on though. Like, uh,
Hmm.
give me a moment to yeah. Um, okay, so going to mine again. Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And this is a whole tangent we've gone on a few times. Not even just on here. Like when we've hung out before, like on Discord and stuff.
Yeah, it's been a several hours long conversation at this point.
Oh, do you remember that article we did that talked about it?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn. But yeah, Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I I like her because uh, you know I'm not gonna lie. I like powerful women. I like women who can kick my ass. But um, it's it's a complicated thing for me, and I don't really feel comfortable talking about it right here, right now. But um, I like Azula because she knows what she wants, and she's tough and also intelligent. Probably a little more intelligent than me. Not gonna lie.
Hmm.
But also she just needs help. Like, and again, like I've gone on tangents about this. She is
And yeah, and here is usually where I part company because I think Brainstormer's adorably optimistic heart deserves better than a basket case like Azula. And my solution to her would be to do to her what she did to Long Fang in season 2 of Avatar.
well. Okay, the thing is, I think again, like I do think that she is a product of her upbringing, like Zuko is. And the trauma that she has, it's just she's hit it well. And I think after the end of the 100 Year War was the cat was when she started to break down those walls, and also like the betrayal from her, well, quote unquote betrayal from her friends May and Ty Lee, and also like going against her brother and stuff, and just it's a lot of stuff. And she is just as broken, if not more so, than Zuko. And I think she just really needs help.
Yeah, but the thing is Zuko didn't want his brokenness. I think Azula kind of got addicted to it, and that's why I think as your friend, I would try to convince you not to try and save her because
And
if she hurt my friend, bitch is dying. I don't care. I'm bloodbending her ass. I don't even, not even caring.
I don't know. There's a good person in there. I know it.
I feel like if she had gone a different way on the island episode when they were all talking by the fire, if she had gone a different way from then on, I might be more lenient here, but she just I don't think there's anything left of her to save at this point.
I don't
Like
know.
that's the difference between her and Zuko. I think he at least tried to stay human because of his relationship to his uncle and his desire to be a good king regardless. She took her father's fucked up example and ran with it to the ground.
I don't care. I'm still smashing. That's
Mm-hmm. I think she would be a grade A example of the golden rule. Do not stick your dick in crazy.
I think if we had met sometime before her appearance in Avatar,
Mm-hmm.
I then I could have maybe saved her. I think certain events from the series of her adventures kind of
Yeah. Yeah,
she,
maybe.
yeah. Again, like it's a complicated thing, but I do think again, like I think personally that she could be saved. I think it's just a matter of how one would go about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think, if anything, the first step to saving her is showing her she's not on top. And again, basically doing to her what she did to Long Fang. You've beaten me at my own game. Don't flatter yourself. You were never even a player.
I
Someone who can puppet master the puppet master is, I think, what's needed to
yeah, but I can't do
to bring her out of her shell.
I'm not smart enough to do that.
Yeah, I don't think either of us is, but
It's not
I
even
would be.
I'm not as ruthless as I'm not capable of being that ruthless and bloodthirsty. I mean, I'm probably
If I were a waterbender and I had access to bloodbending, I could be.
you know what I actually might be as ruthless as Azula, but I am compassionate enough that I don't ever let myself be like that. So still, I'm smashing. That's don't smash our
Yeah,
path.
yeah. That might, for your own good, you might want that to be a one night stand, though. Although, can you imagine one night standing Azula and not calling her the next day? Oh my god.
And we both know I won't. Like we both know I won't do it though. Not
Right, but
my
still, I pity the poor fool who would try that with Azula.
yeah. But don't smashing or passing.
I'm passing on this one.
That might be the only.
Your brother deserves way more hugs than you psychotic bitch.
Okay, what if the roles were reversed though? That's the question.
If the roles of Zuko and Azula were reversed,
Scary thought, isn't it?
a bit, but it part of what made her so adaptable to her father's ways was that she was so talented. So in that universe, Zuko would have had to have been the talented one, and Azula would have had to have been the one that was like in this hypothetical universe. Zuko would have had to have been the one that was born lucky and had his father's love, and Azula would have had to have been the one that was lucky to be born. Although the scarring thing gets way creepier when it's done to a little girl. And that is a little bit gynocentric of me, but frankly, I don't care because that's bleh.
All right, moving on. To your pick, another jock character.
Mm-hmm.
You really do have a type.
Clearly.
Yeah. Mitch Down from Paranorman. That is a good movie. I only saw it once and I haven't seen it since.
It's on Netflix if
I
you
don't have
want to watch
Netflix.
it again. Oh.
Well,
Um
I don't have any more, but yeah.
hmm.
What's your reasoning for this guy?
He seems nice. Um he's a little bit difficult with Norman because he thinks he's that weird kid who lies all the time, but for the most part, his stupidity comes out of wanting to protect his younger brother from being taken advantage of. And also, according to him, his boyfriend is a chick flick nut, which says to me that Mitch is the top and that he likes smaller, weaker, sensitive guys. In which case, yo.
Yeah. So Smash or Pass. Pass.
Smash.
You say that again.
Yeah, I'm smashing,
Yeah.
but you
So,
are passing because you don't swing that way.
yep.
Also, I think I'd be a little bit more tolerant of his stupidity than you because again, I don't mind someone less intelligent than me because that would mean that they would need me, and I like that. The idea that I could offer somebody something.
I think that I think the big difference is I prefer equal footing, like a partner that rather than subordinate and dominant thing. So
Well, I mean, in my version of things, equal, yes, but within the context of the dichotomy. He's bigger and stronger than me, but I'm smarter than he is, and we're there for each other, and so on.
right.
But that's
Yeah. No.
that's my thing.
Yeah. It's a totally different thing for a different time.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. So moving forward, it's in mind. Looking at my list here. Okay. Share application. Jessica Rabbit. I feel bad that this is like the only easy one on here. Well, okay. No, she actually, I think she is just she might be the only easy one on here. Um,
Mhm.
but no, I like her. She has a very
Voluptuous.
thank you form, obviously, but with what you see of her relationship with Roger Rabbit, um, she clearly is a very caring and loving person, and will pretty much do anything for the one she loves. Not to mention, great singing voice, and that I like that. Like I really do.
Yeah.
Plus, she's a redhead. Yeah, it's nice.
I I can't again. I find myself unable to dispute this one.
So smash. I'm
Yeah,
smashing. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and so am I. I think.
All right. Give me one moment. Close this. All right. So moving on to your next one. Um, from Ultimate Spider-Man, one of the lesser Spider-Man cartoons.
Yeah,
Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist.
yeah. I think in Danny's case, he and I would bond over the sort of mystical quasi like monk thing. Um, and everything I've seen of him suggests to me that he would be extremely gentle and extremely protective. And in one scene, of Ultimate Spider-Man, he gives Peter a bear hug and almost breaks him. And given that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, that must be one hell of a hug.
Hmm.
Plus, if anyone has ever seen the "It's a Monk" thing GIF, where Iron Fist is not wearing his clothes apart from his underwear, good goddamn, just woof and howl and so on.
Boy was ripped.
You're not kidding.
I was just vocalizing what you were thinking.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and for anyone that hasn't seen that GIF or the scene that GIF is taken from, and you appreciate the male form, you should,
I
and then basically become the wolf from the animated Zoot Suit wolf from old cartoons.
yeah. Um, funny story with the picture that is on screen right now. And Dalton and I literally just talked about this before stream. He didn't exactly specify when he wrote Danny Rand, so I tried looking for a picture from Ultimate Spider-Man of just him without like his costume, like as Iron Fist, and that took a while. Not gonna lie, especially like finding a high
resolution.
Well, with enough high resolution.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look like shit. But yeah, just I actually did find pictures of It's a Monk thing and also just Iron Fist himself, but again, like Dalton didn't exactly specify, so
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. Smash passed, pass.
Yeah. And obviously I'm smashing the hell out of it until he smashes me.
The weird thing is, it's not even the guy thing. It's just I don't think I could really gel with the. He just seems a little too ascended, worldly thing.
I don't know. I think you're wiser than you give yourself credit for.
To be fair, I've never really been big into monks, like at all, like in terms of philosophy or anything. I don't know. It just seems like it's the whole emotional, physically detached thing.
Yeah, but the thing with Danny's form of martial arts philosophy, it doesn't really make him detached so much as it makes him centered and sensitive, and that's another reason why I would definitely smash.
Okay, I don't know. Just anyway, okay, so let me pull up mine. This is actually a funny one, because the next two choices are from the same show, which is totally unintentional on our parts. So my first one, well, mine anyway, is Maddie Fenton from Danny Phantom. Main reason, she's awesome. Like cool mom, cool woman. The fact that she is sought after by a couple people. Ironically, I was going to go for her daughter Jazz because I think we're in the same age range. But I don't think I could gel with Jazz a lot.
Too much of a snob?
No. I think she's just too obsessed with her studies is the thing. She doesn't really know how to let loose, to enjoy a moment. Maddie just seems like a fun time. I'm not even gonna lie. Like she just seems like a fun person to be around all the time, and I can see why. Plus, she's like again, like I like someone who I can have intelligent conversations with. Plus, she's eccentric, and I like that.
Yeah.
Total smash.
I again would have to agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, we did not plan this at all, but
no, it just sort of happened that way.
Yeah. So Quan from Danny Phantom. Again, like we legitimately did not plan this, like in terms of order.
Yeah. Originally I was gonna go with Dash, but he's just a little bit too confrontational and cocky. I do think there probably would be a more sensitive side to Dash somewhere, especially with all of the stuffed animals in his closet and his reaction to things that are bigger than him. But Quan has all of that, and he actually seems to be the more down to earth and sensitive of the two. He seems to, when he does negative or bad things, it's mostly because he's following along with his popular crowd and or Dash. But when we see him kind of cut off from the populars and and forced to kind of deal with the outcasts, he actually becomes kind of just adorably both clumsy and overbearing and overprotective all at the same time. And it's super, super sweet. And if I were Sam or Tucker and I had the option of all of a sudden having a sweetheart jock who would do whatever he was told at my beck and call, you bet your ass I would not want to be sending him away, even if his bear hugs were enough to squeeze the life out of me, like he does to Sam and Tucker on multiple occasions in that episode, which itself is kind of a turn on. I really like being lifted, and I really like bear hugs. So any adorable bear hugging is a, definitely a turn on. Smash, smash, smash all the way.
I don't disagree. Like, he seems like a cool person. Like, out of the popular kids, like, he seems the more grounded.
Yeah.
But again, me being who I am, past. But I like, he seems like a cool dude. I just like to hang out with. It also reminds me of this one guy I knew in high school who was a jock. I can't remember his fucking name, even though we were like kind of friends. Not close friends, but friends enough. Yeah. I knew a guy in band too. I knew a lot of people, actually. Huh. I had more friends than I thought I did. I mean, general friends, not really close.
Yeah, acquaintances more than friends.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, moving on to my next list. The next one on the list is this good one. This was in 2012. So, wow, almost 10 years. Holy shit. That is
Trippy.
Trippy as hell. Yeah. Karai from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 cartoon. I'm sure you can guess why.
Because she's hot, she's skilled, and she can kick your ass.
She's also snarky, and I love that. Like, she's witty. I don't know why. Like, at first it was going to be April O'Neil from the same show, but Karai just has more to her. Not to mention, she has just a better character depth. I mean, nothing against April, obviously, but in this show, she just had more to her. Plus, she's kind of goth, and again, like, that's just kind of like one of the things I like.
And once again, I must point this out as your friend. If you like snarky characters, I will eat my hat if you haven't fallen for Karen Murphy by about the 5th or 6th book of Dresden Files.
I kind of just want to say it to see you even try to do it. Like, eat your hat. Like, I just want to say, like, I don't like Karen Murphy just to see you attempt to eat your hat.
Don't make me do that. I only have one other hat that's a top hat, because top hats are expensive.
I mean, probably I won't do it just because, like, I'm kind of almost incapable of lying. So,
which is another one of the reasons why you and I are friends, because I know you well enough to know that you'd never you'd never bullshit me or sugarcoat things or do something just to be quote unquote nice.
But
When you're nice, you're actually nice.
yeah, but yeah. Again, like Karai, just I can see why Leo likes her a lot. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And he's not wrong. So yeah.
Um, so yeah, Karai from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 2012, smash.
I would agree, although I'd be slightly concerned that she'd stab me while I was sleeping.
Well, in the later seasons, she becomes a snake mutant. So possibilities she can constrict you in your sleep.
I would somehow be more okay with that.
No, but she's more anti-hero than villain. Yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, I really do have a type.
You do, and so do I.
I mean,
We are predictable if you know us well enough, folks.
yeah. All right. So your next one, Kevin E. Levin or Kevin Ethan Levin.
Which does actually mean that his E is there, and that is funny. Kevin honestly almost didn't make it onto this list, because he can be a little bit overly cocky, but usually that cockiness translates into kicking the fuck out of anyone who would hurt the people he cares about, and I am okay with that. And not to mention, as I was telling Rainstormer before we came on, much in the same way that Hulkling and Wiccan kind of come with bonuses of each other, and why I wouldn't want to break them up, I just want a threesome with them. In the case of Kevin, if I'm with Kevin, then I'd also probably get to hang out with Gwen, and that means I'd have somebody to talk shop over magic with, or I guess talk magic shop if we're being funny about it. But I'm ching. So yeah, and also I think I might just generally have a thing for Greg Sipe because he plays a lot of characters that I actually wouldn't mind having a go with, even Beast Boy, although I might have to insist that he transform into his gorilla shape before doing anything.
Not even gonna touch that.
Yeah, probably best not to.
Yeah. Again, like he seems like someone I call a best friend. After I punch him in the face a few times.
Yeah. My only concern is that apparently Kevin can absorb energy, and that includes mana. And yeah, no, fuck you. I'm using it. My life energy is mine. Hands off.
Yeah. So pass. Uh,
Yeah, and I would smash, but I wouldn't. I think Kevin would have to do a little bit more convincing than most of the other people on this list. That he was actually genuinely into me and genuinely wanted me.
mm-hmm.
Because I would be worried about it being some practical joke on me, and I don't like that bullshit.
Step away from the abyss, buddy. Step away.
Uh huh. Yep. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. One second. So this is where we got more interesting because we're well, not lesser known, but just more variety than kind of sticking to similar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for mine, it is Esmeralda from Hunchback of Notre Dame, the first movie. Um, I mean, she's kind of technically the MacGuffin of that movie, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
She's a fiery, passionate soul, and I like that.
It's not my fault. It's not to blame. It is the gypsy girl, the witch who sent the flame. It's not my fault.
Dude, the
It's
covers
in God's
of that
plan.
song are amazing.
Hmm?
Like there are plenty female covers of that song, and it's just a good song. And I feel so bad that this movie doesn't get the recognition it really deserves.
Yeah, Hellfire is good and Hunchback is good.
It's my favorite Disney movie, and I'm not even a big fan of Disney movies.
I'm actually in the minority on Hunchback in that I actually don't mind the gargoyles. For some reason, so many people have hate towards the gargoyles, and maybe it's just because I like gargoyles in general. Gargoyles are cool,
Yeah, no,
but
I whatever. But yeah, no, I like her. Just like her design is pretty is uh, it's vibrant compared to like the kind of the differencing of the environments and stuff in the movie. Um, I do think the first movie is a lot better than the second one, but I think that's mainly because they downgraded the second movie a lot. The story itself is actually pretty good. In the second movie, to
yeah,
be honest.
I actually saw the second Hunchback before the first one. Don't shoot me. Um, and so much so that when I first heard a song called "Ordinary Miracle," I was thinking the song from Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, and I was confused the first time I heard the other "Ordinary Miracle." Um,
Yeah. Like I said, like I think the second movie is like story wise, it's really good. I think it would have gotten more praise um, if it had a bigger budget for its animation. It didn't look like a Saturday morning cartoon.
yeah, I also think, and maybe this is because I'm biased against Stage Illusionist, but it might have been more interesting to have a character who was actually a magical practitioner instead of just a stage illusionist.
Mm.
Um, because Quasimodo versus a sorcerer would be interesting. Because
Well,
you
I
could
also I'm sorry.
you could even have had a subplot where Sarouche offers to fix Quasimodo in the same way that Dr. Facilier kind of baits Tiana in Princess and the Frog at one point. That would have been an interesting choice, and then you could have shown Quasi's character development by having him choose not to.
Right. But back to the whole thing. I again like I also like that she treats someone who's generally considered ugly looking uh, with compassion and kindness.
God help the outcast.
Yeah, and also just like she's able to see further than the physical stuff, which is always it's something I strive for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I like to find someone who does the same thing. So that's kind of why I picked Esmeralda. And again, like
Yeah,
she
I. Go ahead.
no, she's just hot. Like again, like
Yeah, I I don't disagree with any of your reasoning there either. Again, the reason why I decided to go with an all male list for mine, even though I do like men and women, is because Brainstorm and I would have overlapped too much if I had included girls. So,
um,
yeah,
yeah. So smash pass, smash.
definitely Smash.
Yeah. Okay, so before we move on, Slither Claw. Dalton, you like Satana, and she is a stage magician. She's also an actual like practicer of the mystic arts, right?
Yes, she is a sorceress, and I don't know if I'd say I like Zatanna. Like she makes the list because she is a prominent magic user, but she's very far from my favorite magic user in comics. And honestly, it annoys the shit out of me that people just forget her father existed in favor of her most of the time. So there's that. Plus, it bothers me that she is a stage magician because that's like buying into somebody else's horrible straw man stereotype of you and trying to embrace it, and that just doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. I like it. Wasn't Satara also a stage musician at some point?
Yeah, and I dislike that aspect of him too, but
She has a day job, says Slither Claw.
yeah, but there's especially now in the modern day, there's no reason she couldn't have been like a new agey tarot reader by day or something. Like horoscopes by Zatanna is something I actually would buy.
Shall we?
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah. So this is your pick, Victor Stone, aka Cyborg from Teen Titans.
Uh-huh. Frankly, I'd like to see a alternate universe where maybe by my intervention he could have been saved from the accident. Just because I think after the accident he became a little bit too tech focused and it kind of ruins the nerd jock dichotomy a little bit too much. But I mean, come on. He's big, he's tough, he's nice to everybody, and he's super, super fun to be around. I can't and he is intelligent enough to understand all the tech shit. So I could actually have meaningful conversations with him and also get my type fix. So yeah, but again, I think my ideal world for the two of us is one in which I foresee his accident coming and manage to prevent it, and then he goes on to be the like star football player that he was gonna be.
Your word, dude. Don't pass.
Yeah, and I as established, I am slashing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Me. Okay, so moving on to mine. This is actually, I don't think a lot of people know about this one because they didn't really pay attention to that cartoon. But Tron Uprising, one of the, again, you'll really just know my type. Like it's not hard at this point to deduce.
Get again. I'm putting all the money on Karen Murphy becoming a thing for you.
Yeah. Paige from Tron Uprising. She was kind of the primary. She was like the rival slash love interest to the main character Beck in Tron Uprising. She's a really cool character because she's kind of a tragic villain in a sense. Because, and if anyone's seen Tron Legacy, like the movie, it said that the ISOs were basically a genocide had happened in the grid. Her friends who were programmed, she's a programmer herself, were killed by what she's told anyway, that the ISOs that she helped uh, basically went on a rampage and killed every program that she knew. But in actuality, it was Clue's forces and the man that she works under who violently slaughtered her friends, her people. And she's been lied to this whole time. And she's basically this loyal soldier that constantly gets fucked over because she's actually legitimately a good person. But it's been played to be the bad guy. Like she's been tricked to be the bad guy. So yeah, there's this tragic sense, and like I kind of want to help her realize that she got fucked over,
Mhm.
and like, but again, like she's also like a badass fighter. She's a commander of a military or like a squad, and
Mhm.
she's also just a really cool person. Like she was a medic. She was a person who wanted to help people prior to being a soldier.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's kind of why I like, again like badass woman and all. So I mean, she is an AI, so there's kind of the limit there, but didn't really
Mhm.
stop Sam and Cora and
But
Trump.
hey, it worked for Theodore and Samantha in the movie Her, so maybe you could make something work.
Yeah,
Or I guess a better analogy would be Aelita from Code Lyoko.
and Jeremy, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Smash.
I honestly I don't remember this show well enough to say whether I would or not. Um,
It's on Disney.
I mean, judging by how closely we've agreed on things of this nature throughout the list, it kind of makes sense that I would also agree here. But like I said, I don't remember this character well enough to
That's fair. That's fair.
make a judgment.
So, guess you're passing.
Yeah, for at least temporarily until I can learn more information.
Okay. Okay. So moving forward, with Dalton's pick. One sec. Um, Dalton. I mean, not Dalton. Duncan Rosenblatt from Fire Breather.
Yep, he's half kaiju, superhumanly strong. He appears to be a nice guy to his friends. He even defends one of his geekier friends during like dodgeball or something, I think. And when he embraces his kaiju nature, he's like 7 feet tall and built like a brick shit house. So I need no further explanations here.
Yeah. Plus, the
I,
movie was good too.
Yeah, I'm really not that complicated. Just someone strong and big and protective, who is also really
What, what,
sensitive, sweet, and kind of dorky on the inside.
what
That's all I need.
what's weird is I think we're playing against time because you want us to come across the guy who would have a complicated nature with picking a significant other. Well, I would be the kind of beefhead who wouldn't really care.
Hmm.
It's so weird how that's like it's so switched between us.
Well, it's because I've given a lot of. I think it's because I've given a lot of thought to this, and I don't. I'm not really. Obviously, physicality is an important thing to me, but in terms of like skin tone and all that kind of stuff, I don't really micromanage because I realize how rare my type is. So any variation on it, I'm fairly happy.
All right, all right.
Hmm.
So moving on to well, yeah, I'm passing. Obviously, you're
Yeah.
smashing. So
Yes.
there. This should be another easy one, I think.
Hmm.
Mirage from The Incredibles. It is actually very hard to find a picture of her, like a good one,
It's almost as though all the pictures are hidden behind a mirage.
or a safe search. Anyway, well, she has this seductive nature to her. She is kind of like a spy. Um, Not to mention, she's one of the more morally complex characters in that movie. I mean, every character is complex, but I think she has a story to tell that wasn't really told, and
Hmm.
I'm curious to find out what it is. Like I like a mystery with
Hmm.
people. Um, Not to mention the voice. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I might have a thing with like silver hair or like white hair.
That I'm just gonna make a mental note of that for later. I find Mirage very attractive as well. I like women that are like refined and intelligent and graceful, and she's all of those. And actually, come to think of it, she kind of looks a little bit like the version of Queen Mab from the Dresden Files, or at least how she's described.
Mm.
Plus, I mean, I'm like Brainstormer in that when it comes to women, I wouldn't mind someone who was a little dangerous. And I guess with guys, I like someone who's a little bit dangerous as well. With the guys, I usually add the proviso of could but wouldn't kind of situation. And to be fair to Mirage, she is very much that way. She comes across as the stereotypical femme fatale who will stab you in the back, but she's not actually that. In fact, she's probably more the moral compass.
Yeah.
Than anything.
Yeah, so Smash. Stone.
Yeah, agreed. So much smashing.
Okay. Alright, so moving on to your I think second to last.
Mm-hmm.
Dave the Barbarian from Dave the Barbarian.
Uh-huh. Again, it's very much in the vein of my type because he's a big, sensitive, soft teddy bear, but he's also built like Arnold in his prime, vis-a-vis Conan. So, yeah, I mean, his wrists are probably bigger than my waist, and yet he probably would get scared by a spider in his room, and I would have to come and squish it for him, and it would be the most adorable thing ever. That's kind of adorable, and yet the cuddling and or sex would probably be the most amazing thing. So yeah, smash.
Pass. Mainly because
why?
I don't think I could gel with him. I think he's too brick-headed for me. Like even as just like a friend.
Yeah, maybe.
That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To add to my reasoning, a lot of the things that Dave seems to be interested in are stereotypically gay things, so we could share those things in common, and I wouldn't feel the need to like apologize for them or anything, which is nice. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
To your next one.
Oh, my last one.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. It's no shocker here because I've talked to you about her at length.
Mm-hmm.
Lin Beifong from Legend of Korra.
Uh-huh. And once again, knowing our types, this shouldn't be at all surprising to you folks.
Yep.
I'd have to pass on this one just because I don't like it's not that I don't like older women or I wouldn't like older women because like for example I have a thing for Rowena from Supernatural, but I think Lin aged just a little bit too much for my liking, and that may be shallow, but there it is.
I want to shame you, but I can't really fault you.
Mm-hmm.
However, I respect her. Like like Toph was one of my favorite characters from the original Avatar, and she's
Mm-hmm.
just as much, if and I'd argue even more badass than her mom, fully
Mm-hmm.
grown than her mom was like when she was a kid. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that she is a police officer, so she believes, again, like my whole kind of doing the right thing and stuff. So, um, not to mention badass warrior. Like her fights were always the coolest when we were watching Legend of Korra.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's also fairly competent, and you don't really get a lot of that from a lot of characters these days, or like people these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. And yeah, the older woman thing, yeah, I like it. I don't know why,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Lin Bei Fong, smash.
Pass.
I am legitimately surprised you actually passed. Um, but yeah, okay. So let's get on to your last one.
I think she's one of the ones that I might want as a friend, but I wouldn't consider her in any way like romantically.
Fair enough. Scyther Claw. Actually, yeah, okay. So Scyther Claw, Rogue from the '90s X-Men cartoon, Bellatrix Lestrange, Morgan Le Fay from Merlin, Catwoman from Batman the Animated Series, the Blonde. It's good picks.
Yeah, good choices.
We're still like for another 2 weeks. We're doing Smash or Pass list, dude. So
Yeah, we went based on animated shows this or animated picks this time. Next week will be our comic book choices.
third one is up in the air, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. So your last one, Wilt from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Yeah. The only problem here is that there might be some awkwardness with uh dating a literal imaginary friend. But I mean, come on. He's like 7'8" or something, and he's super, super athletic, and he's nice, and he's always apologizing and always kind of on edge because he's worried about doing the wrong thing. And like I said, I like the idea that someone who by right shouldn't be put off by me is somehow put off by me.
Mm.
So, or put off guard by me. So, yeah, it's adorable. Although I get the feeling that we both would be saying sorry to each other a lot because I would feel hyper grateful and intimidated by him liking me, and he just apologizes for everything. So it'd be a little bit of a pain to get caught in like a sorrying match.
Mm-hmm. Again, passing. I do think he and I would gel, just because I think he and I are two very kind people.
Mm-hmm.
You're up in the air on whether smash or pass, right?
Well, like I said, the only thing is I'd be a little bit worried with dating someone who's literally an imaginary friend because
You
I'm
have,
pretty sure that
you have.
they're like naturally predisposed to niceness or symbiotic relationships, and I'm not sure if
Don't,
that counts as coercion or not.
don't. You have a cyborg in your pick. Also, a demigod, uh, and a few other things. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't really worry about the whole imaginary friend thing.
you make a point. So smash, but only if he was okay with it, because that would be the other thing. I'm not sure if he can technically consent to banging.
Okay. But yeah, so that's our Smash or Pass stuff.
For animated
For
material.
next, we got another one next week and another one after that, and some other stuff to do. So yeah, I hope all of you had a wonderful Valentine's with your significant others or just hanging out. We were doing stuff so you guys could hang out here and not be alone on this abysmal day for lonely people. So with that, folks, I want Armitage from Armitage 3. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. With that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Happy Valentine's Day. Now fuck off.